This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, and welcome to the dawn, everybody, where it is slightly cloudy in the east, but it all seems to be burning off quite quickly. It's going to be a beautiful day today, and I do welcome you to Djuma Private Game Reserve. Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Our plan this morning is to go follow up on a couple of leopards from yesterday. How does that sound? A couple of leopards feeding in a tree? I think that is a great way to start. And of course, it's not myself out as well. Only this morning, Lauren is manning the dam cam. We've got DJ all the way out in Tswalu Kalahari, as well as Tessa out in andBeyond Ngala, and Kim from andBeyond. Phinda Private will not be joining us this morning. But on that note, we welcome you on board your live African safari. Good morning, everybody. Hello, how are we doing? Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, where we are freewheeling right now, taking it across quarantine. We heard baboons calling about 5 minutes ago down by the dam. Wow, wow, which is often a very good indication of some form of predator. My name is Steve Falconbridge, of course, joined by Sebastian Rombi on camera. And if you have any questions or comments, please send them through on the usual platforms. Hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, @FC on YouTube. And if you are below or under the age of 18, please get your parents or guardians to send any questions to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Now, there is a small herd of impala here, but I want to get past them because the baboons were alarm calling not long ago. You might have seen the baboons on the dam cam last night, everybody. There was a very interesting little interaction there. Now, baboons are rather promiscuous beings. The females are willing to mate with any of the males that come and go, and we saw a very small little young baboon, obviously trying to be a big baboon. He was attempting to mate with the female, which was really quite comical to see. Very quite comical to see. Oh, there are wildebeest tracks, everybody. Some wildebeest have returned to quarantine since the decimation of the wildebeest herd from the Telemati Pride the other day. Oh, and there is one. How glorious. Have you come back, sir? Have you stopped sulking? Why the long face? I'm only joking, everybody. He's always got a long face. He was busy marking using a preorbital gland underneath the eye. Preorbital is one of the glands you find under the eye, hence the name orbital. They also have pedal glands, the wildebeest, between their toes, and they also love to defecate and urinate and then roll in it. So by all means, the most powerful, you could just see it underneath the eye there. It's a little bit of a line. It's not easy to see, but the most important scent in wildebeest is smell. Everything they do is about smell, and then secondly will be visual. So it's why you'll find males doing lots of scent marking, and then when he's not scent marking, he's standing up as tall and as proudly as he can to advertise to other males how big and strong he is. But if he ever does dominate a female or another male, he will rub his scent all over that individual to basically say, you are mine, or I've dominated you in a way. Okay, well, we're going to leave him on his meanderings. We're going to go and have a look at the dam, because Karen, you're hoping to see some leopards. Well, Karen, I would like to see a leopard. I really would. And unless my ribs has dropped the kill again, which is what I think he did the other day, I think there will still be food there. These animals learn lessons. They learn that you've got to feed in a certain way. especially when you're up in a tree with a dead carcass that moves as you feed on it. So the night before, we went to go follow up, and he dropped it. Silly boy. But that's why our hyenas are always following closely behind our cats, because they know there's always the opportunity. But as the cats get better at it and more adept at the feeding, it's not easy to feed in the tree for the first time. It's much more comfortable on the ground. But my ribs is learning slowly but surely that doesn't work. It works for a little while, and then you run out of food because the hyena snatches them up. Okay, well, it's looking like it's going to be an amazing morning. Let's just go and confirm that by looking at the weather.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, Steve, you are right. It's going to be an incredible morning. And if you can't tell already, my name is Lauren, and Lauren is on camera. I do love singing that very much. And I've just been watching the hippos. They're moving very, very fast. For such large, cumbersome animals, they're actually moving incredibly fast through the water body. They're very, very active right now. And like most animals, it's cool. The sun is up. They're enjoying a good swim in Gowrie Dam. So I'll do my very best this morning to see what I can find on the dam cam. You never know what might appear. And of course, if there's any questions about anything, you're welcome to ask them for me today. It doesn't have to be about what we're seeing right in front of us on the dam cam. I had a fantastic day yesterday. The hyena cubs got named. And as a reminder to you all, the poll is still active. So for Junebug, she will always be our little Junebug. Don't worry, we can still call her Junebug. But I think she also has to have an official name. And the names that you can choose from until Friday at sunset are Navella, which means adore, Yimisela, which means determined, and Shihleklo. I cannot say that word, especially with a swollen face. I'm very apologetic, but it does mean giggles. There's a very unique sound there, comes from the back of the mouth. So that's your options, and you're welcome to vote. Just head over to Twitter on the WildEarth page, and every vote matters, really. I know my favourite, and I will be voting too. I don't have Twitter, but I shall find a way. And the poll will be open until Friday sunset. So you can just see that golden light being cast across the dam right now. And everybody, I imagine, will be starting to wake up. Oh my goodness, do not tell me this is a pied kingfisher. Yes, it is. Good morning. Wow, Davy and I found 3 separate pied kingfishers yesterday. And here we've got another one at Gowrie Dam. They're everywhere. Can't see from here if it's a boy and a girl, but we can try to get an ID for you all. And hopefully it's going to go fishing. But please don't judge my camera skills. Yes, Davy managed to catch every moment of the hunt. That will not be the case with myself on camera here, but we'll do our very, very best. Aha, it's morning time. That's when they preen. We don't say grooming for birds, we say preening. That's also when they'll take a bath, and that's also when they'll hunt for breakfast. So I'm going to keep my eye, as much as I can, on this little kingfisher here, and we're going to send you down to Tswalu to say good morning.
Good morning, Dumela. I know Carl likes to say Dumela. So, yeah, we're at Tswalu. You're with me, Deirdre on drive, and Morgan on camera. So we don't really have much of a plan this morning. We're probably going to stick around in the dunes, see what general game we can find, and then we're going to go and have a look and see if the meerkats have decided to come up a little bit earlier this morning. Yesterday we just managed to get them foraging, so we've got to get that window when they're still at the den. But promises to be what looks like a nice, beautiful day. It's a light, chilly breeze, but that's okay. We'll see what we can find. I can hear all the birds calling already. Andre is asking the question, are there any leopards in Tswalu? Yes, you're actually looking at the perfect habitat for the leopards at Tswalu, is the mountains. So they're a little bit more shy, and we don't necessarily see them as often, but we do have quite a few that like to live in the mountains. The challenge with the mountains is that we're not able to drive the vehicle into the mountains. So if a leopard on the base of the mountain starts making their way up into the mountain, they do disappear from us. So it does make it more challenging, but we do see leopard on odd occasions. And just that mountain range alone within Tswalu, we don't actually know how many we have, but it is always a surprise. Daniel's comment is that is a beautiful mountain. It is indeed. That is the Koronaberg mountain range, the majority of it running through Tswalu, and quite wide, in fact. It looks like a small mountain, but on days when you fly over with a helicopter, it's much wider than expected. And there would be a typical habitat to look for animals like Cape Mountain zebra up in the mountains. There's like a highlight. The sun is coming. There's just a little highlight on the eastern horizon there with the morning sun slowly starting to come up. So that's what the meerkats wait for. The meerkats pretty much wait for that sun to come up and over that mountain, and as soon as it starts warming up the burrows, then they start thinking about coming out to say good morning. Everyone is asking the question, do we see many caracals here? That's another very rare one, probably more rare than a leopard sighting. I'd probably say maybe 1-2 sightings a year. It's a very, very elusive animal. We have seen them on the reserve. We do get them. People have photographed them, but it's just one of those sightings that could be completely by luck. I myself haven't seen one. I've been here just over a year and a half. But yeah, it averages about one to 2 sightings a year at this stage. We're going to carry on mumbling, see what we can find. Are we going to send you across to Steve?
Thanks, Dee. Well, good luck with your search this morning. We are... Oh, there he is. I think I found the buffalo. It was a buffalo, wasn't it? Yeah. Just have a little look-see. This grumpy fellow, a little bit grumpy. I had his tracks just now by the dam. I had once found this guy right in this pan on a walk. I don't know if it was this fellow, but it was a fellow in this pan, and we were not far away. And this is the reason why people sneak up on buffaloes, because you'll have a look now as we get closer. I'm just going to try to go very slowly. I don't want him to move or have to stand up. He sits in a little wallow. Lions calling to the south. Seems below, past the boundary. This doesn't even look like the same guy I saw the other day. Could be yesterday morning's buffalo. Yeah, it looks like him. But you see, they will sit in the wallow like that, and you might not notice the sound the ox pickers make. Might come stumbling along here. He's obviously sitting down, so you can't see his size. And then at the last minute, stands up. You find yourself face to face with this Goliath of an animal who's got two options. One is to run away, or three options. One is to stand there and look at you. Option 2 is to run away, and option 3 is to squash you. So, very important with the buffalo. If you do encounter one of them on foot, and you happen to maybe be on a slope, you always move down the slope and open up the area for them to move, and slowly move backwards, giving him space, which will give him the opportunity to run. The reason they don't run initially is because lions chase them when they run. So if you see him in enough time and you can back away, he'll generally run away. But if you get too close and there's no other option, that is when they become potentially dangerous. Jonathan, it is possible that bugs get ingested in the feeding process of buffalo. I mean, I know for a fact I've eaten a few bugs in my life from a salad or two, and all of you have as well. What's that famous saying? What's worse than a worm in your apple? Half a worm. So we've all eaten bugs in our lives in search for food, and I've no doubt that elephants and buffalo... Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Forgive me in advance. Excuse me. Thank you. Excuse me. So I have no doubt that there probably is some bycatch when it comes to the feeding, but they're not looking for the insects to feed on. They're mainly feeding on the grass. Same goes with rhino and hippo with their huge mouth. Who knows what else goes in there? Like whales feed on specific type of plankton. No doubt. Sometimes other things get ingested. One of those little seasonal pans. I'm going to try and edge a little bit closer. Let's see if we can get another view of him. I don't want him to run away, of course. Lovely little seasonal mud wallow. Down here in the low-lying areas where the sediment gets accumulated, the silts and the salts. Megan, you like how they stare at the camera? Well, that's awesome. On foot, it is a very different feeling, I can tell you that. You definitely do check yourself when you find these guys. There's nothing quite like the look a buffalo gives you. Is he standing? I think he's actually standing in that mud wallow. That's how deep it is. Now he's going to sit down. There we go. So that is a... Now you would not see him, everybody. Can you imagine? Now that is the issue right there. Okay. I'm going to come past him on the other side here. So I think he heard us coming and he stood up. Just goes to show how long this grass is. There's a little window over here. We might be able to see him through. Wonderful little spa day for our buffalo. Tell me when, Sabi. Right there. Oh, it's okay, mister. I'm sorry to disrupt your spa. He's a big boy. Now, those horns, everybody, are formidable. It is the same guy. He's got that injury on his shoulder. And he's grumpy. He's grumpy, so I'm not going to spend too long with him. Leave him to do his thing. He's not sure, you see. He wants to move away, but he doesn't want to move away. He loves to be in the water, this fella. Every time we find him, he's in the water. Sure, he's a big boy. Okay, well, we're going to move on from him. Hopefully he goes back into the water. We're going to go find ourselves some leopards.
Imagine having your own secluded African bush home where you and your friends can enjoy the ultimate safari experience. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, this could become a reality. Timbeta House is located in the heart of Djuma Private Game Reserve, the home of WildEarth. You could win a chance to stay at this intimate wilderness retreat, offering you the rare and highly sought-after privilege of your own home in the bush. The prize includes 3 nights for 6 people and includes daily game drives, a chance to see the WildEarth camp, and have dinner with one of our guides. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the end of February 2021 and you could be heading to Djuma, the place that we call home. Available dates are limited, so terms and conditions apply.
Converging game path will invariably lead you to a water source, but treat all water as suspect. One of my favorite ways of purifying water is to filter out the particulates. And by just filtering it through your sock, you can clear out most of those. You can put water into a snail shell and you can boil it over a fire or using a chemical like chlorine or colloidal silver.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at WildEarth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you're going to have to register on the website, but once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed. Hello, Mama. Just checking us out, everybody. There's no aggression here. Very relaxed. A herd of elephants moving around your car like that. It's truly, truly magical.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Sorry everybody, I'm just going to have to get through this dip quickly. Make your way slowly down to Tswalu. Those of you who weren't aware, last night Lauren had Tundi and her little boy with an impala kill. think it was an Impala. So we're going to go see how they're doing. You never know what happens during the night. Anything could happen.
So we have a beautiful set of tracks here. They are coming towards the camera. So you're seeing the nice sort of moon-shaped toes here, claw marks there, front foot, and then the back foot. So with hyena, they tend to walk one right foot next to a back left foot, and then a little bit further forward you see the front left with the back right. So it's a bit of a funny walk, but here you see the back foot. And then you probably have to go out a bit. But so what we have with the spotted hyena is a very large pad, and then relative to the back foot, also a relatively large back foot. The difference between spotted hyena and brown hyena is that the brown hyena have very, very hairy front feet. So they don't tend to leave as much definition in the track like this. It would almost be that all those edges between the toes would be quite broken because of that hair. So this is a fairly large spotted hyena that was going past after a little smattering of rain, but you can also just see the sheer weight of the hyena, that it's actually how deep it's actually made an impression in the soil. This would have been probably, let's see, yeah, late last night. There's already a nice little crust formed, so there would have been a light layer of dew that's formed a nice crust. This one is kilometers away. Not necessarily worth following because it's quite far. So if you have any questions about tracks, don't hesitate to ask us. You put hashtag WildEarth at FC in the front. Jackie is asking the question, what do the spotted hyenas hunt at Tswalu? So we have seen them predominantly catching kudu. And surprisingly enough, a single female hyena took down an adult kudu bull on her own. So that's what we've seen them, and that's what they're hunting for themselves, but we also see them scavenging, sometimes chasing cheetah off whatever the cheetah have eaten, and that could be the gemsbok or a springbok. But the hyenas here, from what I've seen, tend to prefer kudu. And that is also a good meal. This may very well be, it's not too far, might be the female that has the two smaller pups in the den. Unfortunately, she's moved her den right up into the mountains. So also, once again, because we said the mountains are inaccessible, it's not accessible for us to get there to show you where she's decided to make her den. So you can see, came all the way, she came all the way down the road, and the female spotted hyena are actually bigger than the males. So Matthew has asked the question, how can we tell how old the tracks are? So we look at a couple of things. We look at the definition of the track, knowing what the weather conditions were beforehand. If it had been really windy last night, then a lot of those ridges and sort of the little mountains that form in the track collapse because of the wind. And we drive this road regularly as well, so that's also a clue for us, is that they weren't here yesterday. And other things to look at is if there's been a layer of dew that has formed on the tracks. As soon as it starts early morning, that dew hardens the soil and it makes like a little crust, which I broke in one of those tracks. So that's why we say it was before there was dew. So this would have been late last night that this hyena moved through. Other ways that you can age tracks is also to look at other tracks surrounding the area and see if there's other animals that have gone over the tracks. So there is a scrub hare that's come running through here, and that's underneath the tracks. So now you can age the fact that the scrub hare was here before the hyena was here, but that's behind Morgan. Unfortunately, we can't show you that. Sometimes you'll get one of the day sort of arthropods like a millipede. The millipedes tend to move in the mornings, and those you'll have a little 2-track railway stripe over the tracks. Then you know that the millipede was there after the hyena, and that's how you can get a good aging. Ant lions are another very, very good one to show you. If you the ant lion that makes the pitfall trap, it takes them about an hour and a half to make that track. So or make that pitfall. So if you're following something and the antlion is still busy, you know that you're sort of in a certain time frame. But if your entire sequence of tracks has got lots of antlions, then you're quite likely a lot further behind that animal. I could spend, it's like reading a book, like reading a newspaper. I mean, I can ask Morgan to show you here. It looks like insignificant dots all over here. And that's basically a rodent. So if I got the question correct from Vinny is, are hyenas smarter than wild dogs? Is that how I understood the question? Okay, so that is the question. So they've actually done very interesting tests. They've done comparisons with hyena to lion, animals in captivity, where I don't know about them relative to wild dogs, but hyena to lion, the hyena is actually smarter than the lion. They did tests where they would hide food in a bin, and the hyena would go straight there all the time, whereas the lion wouldn't really know what was going on. And they also put mirrors to see if they recognized each other, and that was or recognized themselves. And that was quite interesting, that the hyena's reaction was a little bit more intelligent than the lion's reaction. With the dogs, I would say that the dogs are also intelligent. They share a lot of things in that their sense of smell is very good, their sense of hearing is very good, their eyesight is very good. So, yeah, I think hyenas often have to problem solve, probably a lot more than wild dogs. If I think about those of the viewers that were watching last night, you would have seen the hyena pestering the leopards that Lauren had, and that hyena is probably sort of calculating if it could jump into the tree, if it could snatch at the food. So hyenas can be a little bit more calculating and try and figure out how they can get access to that food. So we were talking, so all these little dots here that look like random dots to you, but they're actually a rodent that's just been up and down and up and down and up and down throughout the night. So he's probably got a little hole here somewhere, and he's been foraging on the edge of the road for grass seeds or anything that maybe have fallen on the edge. And sometimes they call that a rodent run, you just have this little stripe up and down. I don't see that there's anything else. We can carry on going down the road and see what other tracks we can find. Otherwise, we'll pop into one of the dams relatively close by and see if there's anything at the waterhole. Let's see what... Okay, there's another 2 sets of tracks on this side of the road for Morgan. I don't know what they are yet, so let me see. So this looks like just a jackal. Let's just run on down there. So we're going to carry on. We're going to send you to Lauren, who's at a dam. She's got a hippo for you. Incredibly entertaining.
I don't quite know what's going on under the water here. Imagine if we had an underwater dam cam. Would that not be incredible? I think it's play. I think the adult and the youngster are playing here. And the other day on the dam cam, we spoke about the evolution of hippos. Oh, look at that one, it's tiny. And how closely related they are to cetaceans, which is your whales, your dolphins, your porpoises. And when it comes to hippos, they're very unique in many different ways, and how they are related to the cetaceans rather than sort of land mammals. And they have a very, very unique digestive system. So the ruminants out here, they have a 4-chambered stomach, so they regurgitate the food at least once, and they chew the cud. That's what you see the impala doing all the time, chewing that cud. And they're trying to extract more nutrients, break down that cellulose. And of course, all organisms need the amino acids. They need the building blocks of proteins, or they would never be able to survive. And the ruminants, they have special pouches, and it's the rumen, the reticulum, the omasum, and the abomasum. So it's very, very specialized. But when it comes to hippos, they're actually a strange hybrid between the ruminants and the carnivore sort of human stomach. And this is known as a monogastric stomach. It's just a single-chambered stomach. Esophagus, stomach, and then out the small intestine. It's very, very simple. It's nowhere near as complex as the ruminant stomach. And a hippo is a very strange hybrid because they don't regurgitate, they don't chew the cud, but it's not monogastric, single-chambered. They have sort of 2-chambered. And the walls of these chambers are very, very rough, and this helps them break down all the vegetation that they, in fact, eat when they come out of the water to forage. So these sort of multi-chambered stomachs are acting almost like an internal compost bin. They're breaking down the cellulose, and the stomach of a hippo is so large, as I'm sure you can imagine, that that's why there's a chance for the food to ferment before passing into what they call the true stomach, or the true stomach pouch. And this is similar to a carnivore. So it's got multi-chambers, which is like a ruminant, but then once it's broken down, once it's fermented, it goes into another pouch, which acts like a true stomach, the monogastric single chamber, similar to us and similar to a carnivore. So this is another link to whales, as well as DNA. Sorry, Gwen, one more time with that question. Sonia, no organism has 4 stomachs. They have maybe specialized pouches, 4 pouches, but no organism has 4 stomachs, that's for sure. And the hippos are actually, it's an interesting one because they eat less. Now, most mammals actually eat up to 5% of their body weight. That's a general rule of thumb, if you like, to sustain their nutrient requirement. But hippos, they actually only eat around 1.5% of their body weight. And that's why you can say that they definitely eat less than elephants, because they save a great deal of energy being in the water like this. Now, I imagine these hippos are expending a lot of energy right now because they're playing, but generally speaking, being buoyed up in the water actually helps them save energy. And elephants are also not ruminants, so they don't have a 4-chambered stomach, and I just explained the digestive system of the hippo. So no organism has 4 stomachs, just a very specialized stomach, 4 little pouches. And the food parcels move from one pouch to the next and to the next. But they definitely eat less than elephants, that's for sure. Only around 1.5% of their body weight. they are one of the biggest grazers. They've got huge muzzles. And of course, they just need to come out of the water and graze on all the vegetation. Really, you're asking, would hippos kill lions? They could absolutely charge a lion. They really could. They're huge animals and have got a lot of body weight behind them. A male can weigh up to 3,000 kilograms. So a hippo running at you at full speed would be a very, very scary thing. So I think if a lion got too close to, let's just say, a mother in a calf, the mother would charge. She would come out the water, open that mouth and charge the lion. And I really think the lion would run. But if it managed to get its muzzle around the lion's body, then yes, it absolutely could kill it. But I don't really see that happening out here in the wild. So because hippos are not monogastric and they're not ruminants, they're known as pseudo-ruminants, believe it or not, because they have got a multi-chambered stomach, but it's not quite the same stomach as I mentioned with those 4 pouches of a ruminant. So you can actually call them pseudo-ruminants because their digestive system is more closely linked to a ruminant, but they don't chew the cud like that. Matthew, I have no idea. I really don't know how fast they move on the water. They can't swim, and their little legs are not sort of adapted to swimming. What they're actually doing is probably quite shallow in there. They're keeping buoyed up through respiratory action and just bouncing their legs off the ground. So I have no idea how fast they can move in water. It would depend, I think, on the water levels. If it's too deep, they're probably not going to go anywhere very fast because they can't swim. But if it's not deep, then they can move quite fast using their legs powering against the bottom of the dam. But they can reach speeds of around 40 kilometers per hour on land, which is very fast for a huge animal. But they're quite clumsy. They can't jump. So if there's an obstacle in the way, they're going to have to navigate around it rather than just jumping over it. They're not so elegant on land. This looks great fun. And once it gets too hot, if the sun really comes out today, this play will most likely stop. And I can only see these two. Yeah, you can see the ripple effect that they're creating in the body of water. You see that? They're disturbing the water column so much that it's almost creating waves in Gowrie Dam. The surfers will arrive here at any moment now. Okay, so I'm going to enjoy watching these hippos just a little bit longer. And as I do that, we're going to send you across to Tessa to say good morning.
Good morning and welcome to andBeyond in Ngala. I am sitting with a beautiful elephant bull. And it is such a stunning morning. We're just on the edge of the Timbavati River at the moment. And he is really enjoying this little patch of shade where this greenery is so nice and thick around him for food. So my name is Tessa. I'm going to be your guide this morning here at andBeyond in Ngala. We have Owen behind the camera this morning. And we are really, really excited to show you such a beautiful elephant this morning. It seems like he also has some birds sticking around him. So if you actually have a look close to where his tusks are, there's a bit of greenery on the left And in that greenery, there is a fork-tailed drongo fluttering around, following him as he's walking through the grass here. And what that drongo is doing is, as he's kicking up insects and feeding, insects will be moving, and that drongo is actually coming in and eating all the little insects that are coming out. But he is a beautiful young bull. I would think he's maybe around 20 years old only. And he is really enjoying that long grass. So one thing that struck me as soon as I saw this bull was how white his tusks are. They really stick out. Kenny, no, we wouldn't normally use the size of an elephant's trunk to age them unless they are still very, very young. You can sometimes use the width of the trunk and the head, but normally to age an elephant is quite complicated. You'd have to look at the overall size of it. The best way to age an elephant is by looking at their teeth, but obviously we don't really get a good view of the teeth very often. So the best way to age an elephant is actually by looking at other factors, like maybe the size of the head, the size of the body. You can't use the trunk or tusks anymore. Because of poaching and things like that, elephants now have much smaller tusks than usual, and the trunk size can differ genetically from elephant to elephant. But usually the bigger they are, the wider their trunk is, but it would be very difficult to measure. You can see how easily he blends in for such a big animal. So he's actually moving towards the Timbavati River at the moment. I actually wouldn't be surprised if he goes down there a little bit later on. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to stay here with him for a little bit, listen to all of the bird sounds, and then I'm going to head off and hope that I can find the Birmingham Pride for you.
It is fantastic seeing you all again. Those who haven't met me, my name is Dylan, in what is undoubtedly a very, very, very green Kalahari from what we were looking at a couple of months ago. We will be doing our very first fireside chat for WildEarth. So if you can join us on the 13th at about 7:30 after game drive, it would be an absolute pleasure. We'll see you there.
Sign up to become an explorer and join them by the fire straight after the sunset safari.
Being a safari driver requires some serious multitasking ability. You've got to be able to talk, look at the road, steer, and occasionally get the vehicle into the right gear.
Do not crash into any trees. Oh, not so doxy.
Just jump into the car and hope for the best, and you'll see where it takes you. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm surprised they're moving as fast as that didn't go well.
Who is the best driver? Well, me, of course, although some of the cam ops might disagree.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for WildEarth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on WildEarth.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
What makes andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve so special is our massive array of habitats. And with that comes, of course, a beautiful diversity of landscapes, but also an incredible biodiversity in terms of plants, bird life and animal life, as well as, of course, our conservation success stories with cheetah, with rhinos, now with pangolins too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
to chit to everybody. We thankfully have managed to track down my ribs. Unfortunately, though, the tree that him and his mom were in with a kill, there's no kill, and we found no leopards initially. We're spending a bit of time tracking. Oh, very good friend Mike from Arathusa was in the area, and he managed to spot a wonderful young boy on a termite mound. So, and that is exactly where we look these days. But it seems as if they've lost their kill. I think Tandi's getting a little bit annoyed with him now because she's nowhere to be seen. I'm not going to show it to you right now because it's such a nice view of him, but there's a huge herd of impala that's on the dam wall that are all sort of heading in the general direction of this side. He's just looking, going, Mom, I just want one of them. Isn't that a beautiful image, what he spotted? Oh, there's an impala directly behind us. We're not going to change our position. She's on her own. I wonder if he's yet got the necessary skills. Instinctively, he knows an impala on its own is far better to catch. Now, those of you who watched the show last night, did Tandi and Maribs have a baby impala up the tree? Because the female I'm looking at is looking like she's lost something. Looks like she's come from the exact area where the kill was, and she's probably still trying to find her youngster. Okay, so Seb's going to stay on him. He's going to walk directly behind the car. Oh. Okay, so the impala's running. Have you still got him, Seb? Okay. Impala's directly behind you at your 9 o'clock. We're going to reposition the camera because he's gone behind us. I'm going to keep my eye on him. We're not going to start the car at all because he's busy. There we go. Seb's probably going to get him shortly. There he is. We're not going to start the car. We're not going to move. We're not going to influence anything. We've got a nice long lens here. So we have the potential to view this unhindered. So Gwen is confirming that it was a baby impala. So it's very sad, everybody. I know it's sad. We see these female impalas come looking for their kids. But it is what happens. Now, 11-month-old boy definitely has the strength to take down a female impala. Whether he's got the necessary skills to do it, though, is another story. But how he's just vanished in the long grass there is incredible, isn't it? Carla, they've got an enormous amount of their hunting skill in them already, but the finesse is something that requires a lot of practice. He's been with Mum for some time now. Mum leaves him alone for some time as well. And so he learns to hunt squirrels and birds with mixed sort of elements of success, of course. And this, she's gone. She knows something's up, and she's gone running. But she's not out of the woods yet. She's now directly in front of us. He might have lost her position, but he's still behaving like he's interested. So there's a lot of trial and error. A lot of trial and error. There's a lot of attempts and failures. Even with Tandi also still as an very experienced leopard, still makes lots of mistakes. So a young boy like this needs patience, he needs practice. And catching the animal is one thing. Then knowing what to do with it is another thing entirely. But the instinct to catch is there. You've all played with the baby kitten, haven't you? It's very good at catching things instinctively. It knows how to catch things. Might not know how to be very stealthy about it, or the finer nuances of final stalk and kill, but cats in general are born with an enormous amount of agility and catching skill, and that instinct to catch is well ingrained in them. Sunday, it's difficult to say if leopard cubs came across each other what they would do. We saw Sabui's young boy of 15, 16 months the other day walk past this one, and this one wasn't too keen to go play with him. There's the forlorn mother. Wasn't too keen to go play with him. He saw him and going, okay. He just watched him from a distance. They're not social creatures. Not social creatures, so they do spend time He wants to cut in front of us, says Sabi, so maybe we go back to him quickly. Okay, so leopard cubs, leopards in general, aren't very social. They obviously play with each other and they tolerate each other because they know each other. But these animals are hugely smell-driven, and when they don't recognize somebody, that, I don't know, they're afraid of them or they're defensive against them. I don't know what would happen if a couple leopard cubs interacted with each other. I really don't know. And there we go. Can you imagine? Oh, we've been trying to find leopards for days, everybody. Look at where they've gone. David, tell me about it. The disappearing in the grass is a magic act. Now, can you imagine trying to be these poor little impalas trying to survive out here? It's a tricky time. It's a tricky, tricky time. Dense vegetation. Thanks, Mike. Mike is on his way out. I can't even see him, can you, Seb? He's gone, eh?
I'm on the geese.
He's in the long grass somewhere, everybody. The action here is dwindled. Of course, Willie, puffaders can bite anybody in the grass. Snakes are pretty aware of them, though. They'll probably smell them, sense them. They're also very good at jumping out the way. Just go and have a look at... He's popped his head up again. Go and have a look at cats and cucumbers if you are looking for a funny start to your morning. People have got their cats sitting, drinking, doing whatever they're doing, and then they just slide a cucumber in next to them, and the reaction of the cat is priceless. And a leopard would respond the same if it came across a snake. It would just jump out the way. Sure, there's the reason for the reaction in the video like that is the fact that cats are afraid of snakes. They will kill them sometimes, they will eat them sometimes, but they're also quite afraid of the noises they make and the potential dangers, the potential envenomation that can occur. Although we have had a few sightings of Tingana killing pythons. That must require a fair amount of sort of tenacity. Bear in mind, pythons are not venomous. They're still quite powerful snakes with the potential to bite and grab onto an individual, squeeze the life out of them. Isn't he a cool little character? He puts his head up like that. Now you look back in the direction of where the kill was, so maybe Thandi is nearby as well. Cathanius, of course, leopards, lions, very similar behavior in the males when it comes to cubs. They will often, but not always, kill the cubs of another. It's all about territory, it's all about competition, it's all about who is mine and who is not mine. And as with the lions, it is a trait that's passed on. It doesn't happen with all lions. But lions that do it, same with leopards that do it, are generally more successful. But it's not something you often see or really hear much about. Male leopards doing that. It's not something I've ever seen before. But I think maybe because lions are a little bit more vociferous in it all. We just come back and find dens abandoned, individuals gone. Very, very sad. Annie, I don't know how often they hunt for ducks. I suppose as often as duck presents itself, they hunt for things all the time that we don't even know. The amount of small game birds and small animals like scrub hare that they hunt, plenty of that while we're not watching. They're very opportunistic hunters. They will hunt regularly. And how many ducks or scrub hares this fellow's caught, I couldn't tell you. We only get to spend a portion of the day with them. But ducks are definitely on the menu, as are guinea fowl and game birds, squirrels, mongoose. And he's vanished in the long grass. The kill was just about 100 meters up on our left now. That sinking feeling when you fall in a hole. That was a hippo trail. Incredible, isn't it? Just going to have to scratch around a little bit, see if we can pick up on him again. He might just be lying down just where we went past. Yeah, well, we're going to see if we can find this young boy, maybe his mom as well, while we go back to Lauren and the dam cam.
I'm so happy Steve managed to... Oh, my goodness, what has happened? There's my awful camera skills. There we go. I'm glad Steve managed to catch up with my reeps. I saw a lovely age comparison on social media, and wow, that boy really has grown, hasn't he? He's thriving. And I've still just been watching these hippos play. They haven't stopped. I read a fantastic book about what a fish knows, and it's actually, Well, it's about fish, yes, but it relates to all sorts of animals in the animal kingdom. And there's a lot of scientific study on play and how most organisms throughout the animal kingdom, not just your mammals, not just the ones that we see and we relate to, engage in play. And why? What is the reason for play? Why are they doing this? Is it to exercise the muscles? Most likely, yes. Is it to get rid of any sort of extra energy? Also, most likely, yes. Is it for fun? Absolutely, yes. And there's some wonderful studies done, I can't remember them all off the top of my head, and they can prove that fish, yes, fish, they engage in play just for fun. Now, when you're doing a scientific study, you have to sort of knock out all the other potential reasons that an organism is doing something. And that's exactly what they did. Why is the fish behaving in this specific way? And it all came down to fun. Now, it's a little bit more tricky to, well, let's just say, observe if an insect is having fun or not. But I believe that they do. I believe all organisms across the board will engage in some form of activity that can be called play, and it will just be for fun. And it's amazing, these studies. I'll maybe run through some of them a little bit later. So yes, there'll be a whole range of secondary benefits for youngsters as well, exercising the muscles, getting rid of energy, play fighting, to learn how to engage with another sort of individual of its own species. But yes, play just comes down to fun, and that's exactly what these hippos are doing right now. I mean, that's speculation. I think they're all playful. I don't know if it's possible to say who's more playful than the other, to be honest. Elephants are not quite the same as hippos. They're not closely related in any way, shape or form, and they don't have that amphibious life cycle. I mean, the Latin name of a hippo is hippopotamus amphibius. That's how important the water phase is to a hippo. Elephants tend to just jump in the water. Obviously, they drink water, but when they jump inside the water, it's just for fun. It feels great, and it is for fun. So I don't know if you can directly compare them, because hippos are in the water all day long. They tend to only come out at sunset time and jump in again around sunrise time, give or take. And I think they play. They play in the water, and elephants will play on land and in the water. So I'm not sure who's more playful, but they definitely, both species, are well known for playing. I think there's a lot we don't understand as well. Possibly when we see a grasshopper doing something, we won't think immediately that's play. But I'm a firm believer that all animals will play. Okay, so I'm going to enjoy watching this play, and maybe we can dig a little bit deeper into that later. But for now, I believe Tessa has a bird.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala. I'm sitting with a very nervous looking Natal Spurfowl that is just on the edge of a little pan system. Have a look at how it throws its head back like that when it's calling to project the sound further. And it's just on the edge of this little pan system looking for things to eat. And we've seen quite a few little marsh terrapins popping their heads out and coming onto the bank of this little pan as well. And that's actually what I'm hoping to see, because seeing the bird on the side of the bank, it's something that not a lot of people realize, but terrapins are actually omnivorous and they can be quite ferocious carnivores. And so a bird on the side of the bank like that, maybe not something as big as a spurfowl that you can see in the grass there, but a bird, a smaller bird coming down to the side of this little pan system could actually be taken by a terrapin. And it's an absolutely beautiful area to just sit and listen for a bit, because we know that the Birmingham Pride has been here in the last kind of 24 hours. So I'm actually having a look for their tracks along here. But at the moment, it is quite calm here. The birds are not looking very alarmed. There's also a lot of impalas that are relaxing in front of me over here. And they haven't been alarm calling. They haven't been looking too alert or alarmed at all. And so I'm thinking that maybe the lions moved on from this area and might be further behind the impalas, which is west for me. But it's an absolutely stunning morning here. There is a lot of bird life this morning, a lot of bird calls. Have a listen. Oh, Gracie, I'm so happy that that's a new bird for you, a Natal Spurfowl. I think sometimes people confuse them with the crested francolin, which is quite common. So I'm very glad that we got to give you a new bird species this morning. So this is actually a bachelor herd of impalas. It's quite a big bachelor herd, and they're all males. And just that one is standing looking at us. The rest of them are preoccupied with feeding, grooming. And the fact that they are so relaxed shows me that I don't think that there are lions here. So that one has actually been grooming himself for quite a while, particularly around his tail and in between the joints. And he's a youngish male. I think he's around 1 year to 2 years old. And those areas are the areas that really get a lot of ticks on them. Anywhere that's got that nice soft skin or a fold in the skin, like in the hip joints, underneath the tail. And that's actually really cool to link back to the terrapin, which has actually just come out of the water again. But terrapins, often you'll actually find them when things like, oh, the terrapins just moved back in. They might actually go to things like buffaloes or rhinos areas that might be wallowing and actually pull the ticks off of them. Particularly the hinged terrapin is very well known for that. But this looks like a marsh terrapin. And it's possibly warming up in the sun. Not that there is much of it, but could also be looking for food. Because they're omnivorous, this one would eat things like plants, but it would also eat things like tadpoles, small frogs, small birds, anything like that that it could find. And they've got an incredibly fast snapping jaw. So whenever they're hunting, they actually kind of move very slowly, and then at the last minute they launch their head forwards and snap the jaws closed on whatever it is that they're hunting. Justin, you're 12 years old. So terrapins are more closely related to turtles because they are mostly within the water. Tortoises are mostly on land. Terrapin is basically, if you think about it this way, a turtle is a saltwater shelled animal. I want to say reptile, but it is a reptile. So a turtle would be in the sea, whereas a terrapin would be inland, so freshwater instead of saltwater. So they're very closely related to turtles, less so related to tortoises, because tortoises you would find on land. Every now and then I have actually seen tortoises in the water, particularly when they need more water, but it's not that often. The only time we really see terrapins on land instead of in the water is like now if they're busy trying to warm up, or if they're moving from one waterhole to another. And this particular species is normally found in little pan systems like this one that are temporary pan systems. They come after the rain, there's no crocodiles, and so these terrapins will move between those little waterholes or pan systems. You sometimes even find them in the puddles in the roads. but definitely closer related to turtles than tortoises. Moving back towards the thickets there. There's a lot of birds calling this morning. I think that's because it's nice and cool, but also we're expecting some rain. And with the rain coming in, that means that insects might be more active this morning. Indigo girl, that's actually very interesting. I didn't realize that they were all called turtles in the United States. Learn something new every single day. Yeah, here we've got the distinction between tortoises, terrapins, and turtles, depending on the habitat that they are found in. There's also some other small differences in the structure of the head and the feet, and particularly the eyes, and what you could kind of refer to almost as the beak. So those impalas have just heard some of the spurfowls calling, and they've both turned around to look at that. But they're not alarmed at all. So I'm going to leave these impalas here and keep looking for the Birmingham Pride. Keep going down that road behind them. And hopefully I find them for you. Wish me luck.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Sometimes love wants to make you sing. And sometimes love wants to make you bow and fan your wings to your bow. For the southern yellow-billed hornbill, these are signs that love is in the air. These birds are destined for a season of monogamy at least. Breeding pairs are in it for the survival of their chicks. But before love commences, the male needs to woo his valentine with food in the form of nuptial gifts.
I'm Nikki here at andBeyond Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the WildEarth website, head across to the Live Safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next WildEarth drive.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and I come to you live every day here from Tswalu Kalahari in South Africa. My favorite bird has to be the sociable weaver. The enormous nest that they create, their survival tactics to inhabit these harsh and unforgiving environments, and as well as their complex social arrangements is truly remarkable. And the interconnectedness with the ecosystem shows us that we are too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Welcome back, everybody. We've moved over to our herd of impala on the dam wall. They're looking very jumpy. I have no doubt that Thandi has been around and about. There's a bit of a breeze as well. We've lost Maribs in the long grass. I'm not sure where, we couldn't find it, but I'm joined by Lance on camera. Lance is here doing some training. And look, there I am. Hello, everybody. Hello, Lance. How are we doing? You excited? Yes? Not too nervous? He's not. He's a little bit nervous. It's all right, though. The impalas are going to play nicely for us, Lance, so we go over to them. They're trying to come back this direction. Yep. They go down the side of the wall. Still that one young, or that female impala. JP, they get very jumpy. They get very, very jumpy when there's a predator around. Right now they are running behind me to get back to the rest of the herd that have split off slightly. So here's Chitwa watering hole. As we all know, whenever we find impala, I always talk about their behavior, whether they're jumpy or whether they're grouped together. And I'm almost certain there's another leopard nearby. I mean, Tundi's probably in the area. So that's why we're staying around a little bit to see if maybe we can find her. But it's not easy to see in the long grass. Hey, look, it's me again. Let's go back over to the water, Lance. I think we're going to have a look at some hippos or something over there. Just next to this big log on the left there, there's a hippo popping its head out every now and again. Kelly, yes, hippo's teeth are actually there for inflicting damage. So whether it's on another male, or there we go, there's his nose popping out, whether it's on another male or on a predator, and that is the whole purpose of those big incisors. They don't serve any feeding purpose. They are massive, massive big weapons. And males use them for fighting as well as for defense against predators, and then females will use them for defense. Maybe against her youngster, or for her youngster against crocodiles, as well as against maybe a male who's pushing into an area. I don't think she'd be very successful against a big male, but we know mums will always try from time to time. It's wonderful just to sit and listen to the lovely sounds of Chitwa, all the birds calling. Marsh weavers, buffalo weavers, pied wagtail, green-backed cameropteras in the distance. MJ, they are as high as they get. Been overflowing for already a week or two. And everybody, I got a message yesterday, there is another cyclone off of the coast of Mozambique. So we're in for another wet weekend. Watering hole like this won't get any fuller. It's at its max, it is overflowing. All that will happen, you might have a slight change in the flow, but it'll be a little bit more movement, a bit more cleansing. All those islands are as deep as they will be. Seeing how submerged those islands are now, and in the dry season, how very, very sort of open and exposed they are. Territories are changing. Megan, that's an interesting question because we are open. Chitwa's open to all of these other reserves, open to all of the Kruger, and animals are coming and going. So the carnivores define their territories dependent on resources. So yes, there's more than enough food for the predators. The predators go through cycles with the prey. As the prey numbers increase, so do the predators, and then when prey numbers decrease, the predators decrease. It's a constant up and down cycle. It's an equilibrium. And there are plenty of prey animals for predators. It's why we see so many cats and dogs and hyenas, because there's plenty of food and plenty of predatory birds. It's a good indication of a healthy ecosystem. Lots of predatory birds. Lots of insects for the birds. All the migratory birds will still be hanging around probably a little bit longer this season due to the influx of more insects. Some insects will go through another life cycle. And we often talk about some insects breeding and then going into a state of sort of eggs or pupa or whatever it might be until next season. But some of them can actually go through full life cycles during rainy periods and sort of have 2 or 3 different life cycles that normally would actually be slowed down due to weather conditions, because many of the breeding cycles of these insects are determined by rainfall. Same as with the grasses. Some of the grasses will even flower again. Wildflowers will flower again. Birds will nest again. We've all heard that term, make hay while the sun shines. Well, same with all the birds and plants. All about make babies while the rain falls. Really peaceful scenes here on Chitwa. White-faced whistling ducks. Some hippos here at 11 o'clock there, Lance. You see them just directly over from us there in the little nook of the stream. There's the back of a hippo. Hear a bearded woodpecker. I don't do it very well. It's like a laughing gnome-like sound. Imagine a little gnome laughing while scratching his beard. What a bearded woodpecker sounds like. Loretta, the hippo's skin is pink. So it's not that it sometimes looks pink, it's always pink, especially when it's inside, especially when it gets cut open. They actually have chemicals that they give off, or secretions, where the name hippo comes from, which is actually a red-like secretion, which acts as an antiseptic cream to protect their wounds. It also works as a type of sun cream at the same time. But hippo's skin in general is actually very pink, and where it's been exposed to the sun, it's gotten a little darker. If you ever see a hippo out the water, you'll always look at the sort of inside bits underneath the legs and the arms, or the legs, inside around the belly. It's very, very pink. Why it's that color, I couldn't tell you. But they also give off a hippo sun cream. Often looks like they're bleeding. Antiseptic cream is designed to clean the wounds. I don't know if you've ever had a wound before. I used to work on a boat. I was a cook on a boat, and if you ever cut your hand, and I was always washing dishes and keeping my hands clean and always doing things with the diving and all that. And it was impossible if you got an injury on your finger, on your hand, for it to heal. It just didn't heal. It was constantly getting wet and it just never healed. So if you're an animal that's prone to getting lots of injuries and you spend time in the water, you're going to have to need a special kind of salve to go over your wound so as to heal it, because the water doesn't really assist in healing. Salt water can be good, but if you can't keep things from getting wet, they need to dry out, and the hippo actually can't dry out. They can't afford to dry out because their skin dehydrates, so they give off their own secretions. There's just a nostril and a stick and a back. Another nostril. Oh, a little baby. It's an interesting question, Jackie. There's not really an easy answer for that because they don't essentially have a structure together. Hippos have their own structure. Crocodiles have their own structure. So essentially what you find is crocodiles are solitary. They move around and do what they do. Large crocodiles generally don't interact with small crocodiles, or should I say you don't normally find many small crocodiles where there are large crocodiles. And hippos have a very territorial situation where the male defends territory that the females will occupy. So a pod is the name, collective name for a group of hippos. And the dominant male looks after his group of females and babies, and he'll defend them and the area against anything else. Even crocodiles coming into that area are prone to being chopped in half. So there's a mutual respect between the two. Crocodiles stay away. Generally, sometimes they don't, and they pay the price. Okay, well, we're going to see what else we can find for Lance, and then we'll send you back over to Deirdre and Tswalu Kalahari.
So we finally found our meerkats. We landed up at the burrow system that they've always been in for the last 2 weeks, and between yesterday afternoon and this morning, they'd moved burrows. So we've managed to find them, but this is the Ngala group already foraging. So that's the sub-adult and one of the adults. And then there's two, oh, it's playtime. It's playtime in the road in the middle. If we go a little bit. So those are the sort of 4-month-old ones. It most likely means that the pups either were carried to the new den, which is about 500, 600 meters away, or they mobile enough now that they actually walked following the rest of the meerkats. But they're not foraging now with the meerkats, so they've been left at the new den with a babysitter. But we still haven't been able to see them. Was it? There seems to be a bit of... so that's three of the siblings. There are 4 of that age at 4 months. So attack and play and scent mark and everything that they're doing there is all essential for helping them defend themselves at a later stage and also feed. Oh, the 4th one's coming in. I think he feels like he's missing out. And, oh, there he comes. So I got Palmy, age 5, is asking what do they look for when they're foraging? So they are looking for beetles, insects, scorpions. They are predominantly insectivores. Oh, they are having a blast. So looking for, digging for beetle larvae, beetle grubs, worms, little worm lizards, even geckos, ground geckos. They do eat quite a wide variety. So something spooked them and then they all stood to attention. There must be a hole somewhere around there that if they need to go down, that would be a bolt hole. That if there is anything that threatens them, they've got a quick escape. I can't see what they're looking at. But they heard something and then they all rushed to there. So have a good look around, establish what it was. If it's no threat, then they'll go back to feeding. It looks like it's just 2 of the adults and the 4 sub-adults that are here at this stage. So there's definitely, it looks like more left at the den with the pups. DJ's comment is, these are happy little chaps. They are indeed. So back to digging. And these youngsters will still fight each other for food, try and steal food from each other. They're not. They're independently foraging now. They're not relying on the adults to feed them anymore. They're finding food for themselves, but amongst their siblings, they'll certainly try and steal food if they had the opportunity. Shaking the sand out of his ears. They are phenomenal diggers. I mean, they've got amazing claws, long claws on their front legs, and very, very good at digging to find something. And especially if it's something worthwhile, if they can smell a bug or something that they know that they really enjoy, they'll spend a good couple of minutes actually digging that up. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of this digging expedition. If it is a scorpion, what they would do is try and nip the tail off the scorpion, which is where the venom sits in the sting, and then they'll eat the rest of the scorpion after that. Oh, he's ferociously digging there. So Walu is asking the question, how often do meerkats need to find a new burrow? So in this situation at the moment, because they've just had pups, they've basically been in the same system for about 18 days. Which that's normally your sort of average, sort of a 2 to 3 weeks in one system, and then they've tended to exhaust the food supply in that area, and then they need to move to a burrow system. But for them, they've got multiple burrows within their territory, so it's not like it's like going to the beach house or going to the city house. It's they're already familiar with those burrow systems, so it's not like they have to find a new one every time they want to move. They've got different burrow systems already within their territory, and they'll just move from one of those burrow systems to another. So this particular group, the Makalas, have 3 that they use regularly, and then there are 1 or 2 others that they use infrequently. It would potentially just depend on food availability in the area, or if there was an emergency. Like we've seen them move overnight if there's been a predator like a snake or something at the one set of burrows. They've literally moved overnight to another set. And the main reason for them moving now would have been all those smells associated with the new babies at the new den, and the length of time that they've been at that new den makes it easy for a predator to find them and know that they're there. They really are full of beans this morning. That one is still digging in the same spot, so he's that sand's still coming flying out. He's half his body length in already. And they'll dig scorpions if they've got a scent on a scorpion and they know there's a scorpion in the burrow. The scorpions have a sort of an angled burrow of about 45 degrees, and they're well over probably about 30 centimeters underneath the ground. So they follow that tunnel, and then they find the chamber area where the scorpion is at the bottom. I think we just keep watching. This one's definitely onto something. And they would find that know that there's something there by smell. Maybe he's got it. No, not yet. Luke is saying that they can dig holes so quickly. Yeah, I was just watching that one. It's amazing to see how fast he's been digging the holes. That one there. Oh. They almost play like puppies sometimes. They lie and they wait. Oh, another one. See. I can only see the tip of his tail now. He's going to come out, he's going to have changed colour by now. He's seriously mining down there. Sometimes they're also making new bolt holes. We can never discount that they're actually doing some hole maintenance, making a new place for them to be able to hide under. But I think that the persistence of this one suggests that there's a food source that's well worth spending the time digging. Just see that little tail, that's all you see. Oh. So they've just heard lapwings alarming, and they've responded to that immediately. So straight to the bolt hole again, and that was just one of the birds set off an alarm, and that if a bird is announcing that there's a potential threat in the area, it could be a jackal or something like that, they've responded immediately. He even abandoned his digging in the hole to come back ready to go down into the bolt hole if needed. But they look around, see if it is anything, and then carry on. So now you can see one of the pups might try digging in the same hole. Oh, no, and the adult says, no, that's my hole, out you get. So there's a pup inside there, one of the younger ones. Troy is saying it's amazing how red the sand is underground. It is, and it's a very, very high in iron content. This is also practice we were talking about the other day when they encounter another group of meerkats. This sort of arched back, tail up, sort of a bouncing motion, is a bit like a war dance, which they'll do with each other. We'll stand by for as long as they're near the area and see what they get up to.
It is fantastic seeing you all again. Those who haven't met me, my name is Dylan, in what is undoubtedly a very, very, very green Kalahari from what we were looking at a couple of months ago. We will be doing our very first fireside chat for WildEarth. So if you can join us on the 13th at about 7:30 after game drive, it would be an absolute pleasure. We'll see you there.
Sign up to become an explorer and join them by the fire straight after the sunset safari.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet. And all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala, everybody. So I have found tracks of the Birmingham Pride, or I think it's the Birmingham Pride, on the road. And so we're just having a stop here. We're looking through the bushes because it seems like there's a lot of very active looking game paths here, which are paths that have been walked on recently. And the tracks look really fresh, possibly from this morning. And so I'm just spending a little bit of time here. Owen thought he might have seen something in the bushes there. And so we're just spending a little bit of time scanning through this long grass and the guarri thickets because these tracks are incredibly fresh. And it's always so exciting to be on the trail of a pride of lions like this. And luckily for me, the soil is still really, really wet on the road, which means that the tracks are really clear. And so I'm in a really nice position here where I can actually follow the tracks almost 10 meters in front of the vehicle while I'm driving because the indentations are so good. But what I want to do is actually just keep driving down the road slowly because I think the lions might be in this area. I think they're really, really close. And so what it looks like they've actually done, according to the tracks of what I've found and followed this morning, it almost looks like they've done like a loop back on themselves. So I'm checking this area where I haven't checked before this morning because some of their tracks are coming this way, some are going.
Everybody, we are surrounded by leopards. We've got Thandi and her boy. And walking behind us. So I'm just going to have to reposition once they have walked behind me officially. And I'm just going to be very careful because she just dropped an absolute steamer right over there. Woo! Now it's interesting. I wonder if she will. I don't think she will. I just saw a big Ngala bull right there in the drainage lying down. Looks like she is heading in the direction towards that large bull. Just here on the right, in the shade. Yeah, she's drinking. Yeah, I'm with the two of them just on the opposite side of the pump house there of that, I think, Tambalink or Moanini. There we go. Up a bit more, Lance. There we go. That is the seaplan, everybody, the spring. They're just drinking from the spring, just here on my right. Okay, I'm just going to move back a little bit so that this other vehicle can have a look. So just going to go back very slow. Oh no, they're fine. They're fine. We're going to stay right there. Stay right there. She's going to go down into the river. It's going to make life very difficult if she does, but it is what it is. Now, I wonder if what she'll do if she sees that big Ngala that she's walking straight towards. I think she'll just behave very sort of nonchalantly and walk straight past him. Just like that. They're gone. Oh, Tess, it's a very good question. She was 12 when I arrived here, so she's 15-ish. I'm sure one of the viewers will be able to tell us exactly the age. But every year I have to remember another year has been added to the calendar. Well, this is not really going to be accessible, everybody. See if we can get a little view down here. But I don't think it's going to happen. She might go through to the other side, and if that is the case, we'll go around the other side and have a look. In the meantime, let's go to Tswalu, who've caught up with a few antelope.
So somebody else is already sleeping. It's quite early for Springbok to be lying down, but they've obviously found enough of what they wanted to eat this morning, and they're just busy ruminating. So this one in the front, initially Morgan and I looked at it and we're like, oh, it's got no horns. But then you can see these two tiny little buds, they're not even 2 centimeters horns. So that would show you is about 3-4 months old. That little springbok, and the horns are only just starting to emerge. Just really, really beautiful. They've got really beautiful faces. So the update on the meerkat was that he dug and he dug and he dug and he found, it must have been like a beetle or something. And as soon as he'd finished it, three of the sub-adults all went into the hole to try and see if they could find anything, and were just disappointed that there was nothing there. And then, unfortunately, they foraged too far away from the camera, so we moved on. And then we found these. So actually, if you watch carefully, you can actually see when they stop chewing, you see them swallow, and you'll see that ball of food go down the throat, back into the stomach, and then they'll regurgitate another bolus of food and continue. So each time they chew and chew and chew, they're basically making those little particles smaller and smaller, which eventually then land up to the fourth stomach. There you can see the chew. Now watch. Here comes the ball. There we go. Up again. And it's the first time I've seen it with springbok myself, but you see it quite regularly with giraffe. So there is a function to chewing while you're sleeping, resting, should I say. It allows them to look around for predators and properly digest their food. So Kendra is asking, does the Thompson's gazelle have the same shaped horns? They are relatively similar, but much bigger actually. The Thompson's gazelles are bigger than springbok. But, yeah, so the horns are almost a little bit more stretched. So the springbok are also gazelles. They're in the same family together. On the one at the back, you can actually see that sort of the lighter white-coloured stripe on the backside, and that's where that pouch, so they've got an area that they flare open that becomes lots and lots of white hair when they're pronking, and you can see some of that white hair while that one is lying down like that. And their scientific name is Antidorcus marsupialis, and marsupial meaning a pouch, which refers to that pouch on the back at the rump area that'll flare open when they're doing their pronking. Glenn is asking the question, do they get any protein from eating the grass? I'm sure that they would get something. Don't quite know whether they need proteins or carbohydrates or anything like that. So, yeah, unfortunately, I can't answer that question myself without probably trying to talk nonsense. So, sorry about that. Does look like he's having a good chew, though. So they say proteins in grass vary typically 16 to 28%. So, yeah. Sometimes the proteins in grass can dip to below 12% in a drought time when an actual grass is in stress. So they are getting a small percentage. But then sometimes that's also when it comes in that animals are selective feeders. Being a selective feeder, they can choose what they want to eat. And that helps. Then they know that they're getting the best out of the grasses. Sounds like Steve's got something awesome to show you. We'll send you across there.
Yes, well, here is Tandy, everybody. You can very well see it now. James Richard has confirmed that she is 14 and a half, 15, so my maths is there. And here comes her little boy. Here comes my ribs. He's being very feisty this morning. Isn't he beautiful? Now, Gary Katlan, or should I say Gary Main now. He is going to stalk her again. He stalked her a few times. He's been very snarly. She's been very snarly about it. Okay, well, we're going to have to reposition. Thanks, eh? Just working in tandem here. We went onto the other side of the road, or should I say the drainage there, because they crossed. The other vehicle stayed, and then she crossed back again. So you never know what it is that they're trying to do. She's obviously hungry again. No doubt a baby Impala is not enough for her and him. So I don't know if it was killed. Finding out that it was a baby, not killed, stolen. Finding out it was a baby Impala really is not a lot of meat when you've got a growing young boy who's going to jump. She's getting very snarly with him, everybody. Now, her movements are one of... So her movements are one of interest. She's definitely doing what Tani does when she's looking for food. She's looking into the thickets here. I don't know what she can see at that eye level. It's almost as if she was smelling and looking at the same time, but I don't know what she would have seen through the thicket. But you can see now, everybody, why we use the roads again, both the cub and her. Rubes just went and sniffed the tracker's foot. Went and said, hello, I like your leather boots. And then they're going to go back into chitwa. So this is the kind of movement that you find leopard cub will do with a mobile cub. Leopard des will do with mobile movable cub. Up and down, up and down. When the cub was much smaller, when she would move. It would be one directional, and you'd find them on a different property altogether. Although she is moving between Torchwood and Chitwa quite regularly, she's using this main road as sort of a nice thoroughfare. So often their tracks are found on this road, and hence the reason why we have trackers sitting on the fronts of cars, because they realized it's much easier to see tracks from that angle. And you can see the pace that she's walking. She's moving on a medium pace, and the boy is going to come into frame in a moment. So there you have a female and a young male, and his tracks are bigger than hers already. So I remember I hadn't seen him for a couple of months, and I came back, and suddenly I had to ask the trackers on Djuma, like, tell me, how big are his tracks? Because I was following two big leopards, and then you just realize that it is just the young boy. I stopped. Oopsie. Okay, let's catch up with them, shall we? Hello, Melissa, age 10. Well, a territory in general, with regards to any animal, is an area that an animal secures for food resources and for breeding. So many of our territorial animals, lions, leopards, rhinos, hippos, a number of other animals, will secure territory so that they can provide enough food. Just going to go up on the side here, Lance, so just hold on. They can provide enough food for their individual, for their youngsters, and for themselves. And the territory size will be dependent on the amount of food available. For example, leopards here will have a much smaller territory than leopards in Tswalu, where Deirdre is. They see a far less density of leopards that side. There we go. And we'll just stop over there. So they see far less leopards there because the territory size of the leopards there is far greater, because they need a much larger area to secure for breeding purposes, for securing the food. Mum and son in the shade. So territory is very important. Many people might think, but what's the purpose of a territory? Why don't animals just have home ranges? And by having a territory, a female or male leopard can walk around their territory regularly or every few weeks, scent mark, and basically stake a claim to the territory so that other animals of the same sex and same species know that it's occupied. So what that means is that if it's occupied and someone comes into it, that animal's either going to want to challenge or was going to run away and hide and be differential to that individual. But if there was no territory and no marker, then every time they woke up in the morning, they have the potential to fight another individual. So by putting a territory there, you're advertising to everybody you're available, and if they really want to fight, they can. But that's not always the case. Not everybody wants to fight all the time. You can't afford to fight all the time. I used to use the analogy here when we had all of our male guides, Scott, and James, Ralph, Tristan, me. Now, when we wake up in the morning out of our rooms, if we all just walked out the door and just fought each other every day, it would be very, very difficult to sort of sustain that energy. But because we've got our own rooms, our own little spaces, we're not competing. I know that if Ralph comes into his room and I happen to be in there, I'm going to quickly duck out the back, because otherwise he's going to fight me. But I know it's his space. I can smell it's his space. I can smell it's his things. But if I didn't know it was his things, then we'd fight every single time. And fighting in the animal kingdom is the last resort. Leopards will call, they'll scent mark so as to deter another animal from coming in. And if that animal does come in, they will know that they're weaker and probably will run away, or they're willing to challenge, and that means fighting is inevitable. But then at least they know who they're up against, because the scent marking tells them all sorts of things. It tells them the strength and the age and the sexual status of the individual that they are competing with. Karen, they do. In the Masai Mara, I was with a huge male lion, probably one of the biggest male lions I've encountered, and he was with a female, and Manu and myself found ourselves in an area we couldn't broadcast from, but we were the only shade for miles, and this female walked up to our car and used us for shade, and the male walked up and scent marked my car twice. It wasn't very pleasant, to be honest, but he basically just saw us as a big tree. And these big animals, especially lions or leopards, if they are mating, while they are with the female that they're mating with, they will regularly scent mark objects around them. The ground or a tree or a stump or anything, a vehicle. Doesn't happen all the time, and I'd never been scent marked before, but yes, I was scent marked by a huge male lion who actually had his whole tail in the car. It was quite something to behold, how he just cared nothing for us. He didn't look at us as if we were anything other than just a large object worth leaving his scent on. But right now the bonds of motherhood have taken over, and Tandi's snarliness has taken over for her need to care and nurture her son, cleaning the ticks and any blood stains from his face and body. And who doesn't love a head scratch? Justin, why does he bite her? He's trying to get ticks. He's trying to get ticks off of the body. He's trying to, maybe there's some chunks of fur that's clogged with blood, but invariably it's ticks that she's going for. The teeth incisors, she's not trying to hurt him. It's actually quite pleasurable. He's loving the attention, and he's not going to have too much of it for much longer, so he soaks it up. And now he's also going to get a bit antsy and start licking her. See, he licks her back. It's actually lovely to see how different their coats are now. He's far lighter than she is. Far lighter. Yes, Mum, let me lick your back while you lick my feet. See, even though, he's also going to bite some ticks off of her shoulder. Yes, you are a good mum. Such a good mum, aren't you? Okay, now it's her turn for a bit of attention. Oh, yes. That's my boy. A nice juicy tick from behind the ear. He's done now. Mum gives him minutes of attention. He gives her a few cursory licks. Into the shade he goes. Look, there's no real sort of time frame. Male and female cubs stay with mum probably about the same amount of time. I suppose it all depends on when she mates again or comes into estrus again. Because as soon as that happens, that will be the end of the youngster's ability to stay with mum. Although they will try to stay as long as they can. But if you had to ask me, in all honesty, I reckon girls probably stay a little bit longer because they're not as feisty. I reckon the boys start getting a bit too feisty and start really stealing and beating mum up and taking more food than she would like. So she probably leaves them a bit earlier, should I say. But I don't know. I'm sure many of the viewers there would have dates and times on exactly how long it was before Tandi abandoned Tlalamba, and then how long it was before she abandoned Tamba and Kuchava, and sequentially there'd probably be some maths we can put in there, but average, it's all about the same amount of time. Anywhere from 15 months to 2 years. All depends on when she mates again And as soon as she's got cubs again, she'll have no tolerance for that youngster, her old youngster. When she had this little boy, Tlalamba was trying to get involved, and she was having none of it. Doesn't mean that they won't come and steal food and interact. We see siblings and sort of interaction quite regularly. It's one of those things you don't read about in any behavioral books. He's very inquisitive there. Can't believe how much he's grown since I first met him back in June. I'm a little aged 4. I don't know where the dad is. I'm not even certain who the dad is. There's some debate about who dad might be. But Tristan wanted to collect some scat to send over to one of the projects that had been doing research on the genetics to find out who dad might be. But I'm sure we've got lots of opinions back home. Everyone's out there. Some will say it's Tingana, some will say it's Mulwati. You can hear that characteristic noise the Franklins are making back there, which indicates there might be a leopard nearby. Okay, well, don't worry everybody, we are not going anywhere.
Hi, I'm Sue. I'm from South Africa and I'm the incredibly lucky winner of the Tswalu competition. Tswalu has so much to offer, but we're really looking forward to the game viewing options, as going out with a personal guide who has so much knowledge will just be exceptional. Motsi Lodge looks absolutely amazing and we're so looking forward to spending time there. It really is out of this world. I only registered as an explorer towards the end of January, so when the email arrived stating that I was the winner, it took me totally by surprise. I'd just like to thank WildEarth and Tswalu for this most incredible prize. It really is a dream come true.
WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
The reason why we see that wildebeest by himself is because he's a male, or a bull, as we typically would call him. And what he does is that he marks and defends an area. Essentially, he is looking for the ultimate piece of land or prime property. Needs to have good grazing, needs to have a water source close by. And not too far away from here, there's a sickle bush thicket that would provide just enough shelter from the wind and the rain.
My name is Lauren and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is a call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops. Oof.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
So we're still bumbling around in the dunes, just driving around, seeing what we can see. And we saw something interesting earlier, but unfortunately they dashed off, was that the bat-eared foxes were out eating insects this morning. So it was probably shortly after we left the Meerkats that we saw a family of 4 bat-eared foxes foraging together, which is it's starting to show that it's getting a little bit cooler, and there's an opportunity for them to carry on feeding before they need to sleep. So it was quite nice, and we are starting each and every morning to slowly feel as if we're heading in towards a winter. Sort of the mornings are getting a little bit colder as and when we go. So we've also been seeing there's some weaver nests up ahead. We've been seeing quite a lot of the male weavers also trying to attract females to their nests. You can see them in the one coming up here to the right. But just absolutely awesome colours this morning. Sam is asking the question, why is we always seeing springbok in Tswalu? Well, this is the ideal habitat for them. They like the more arid regions. So in a lot of other areas where there's springbok, there's generally no impala, and vice versa. There are overlap areas, of course, but the springbok do like the more arid environments, which is why we see them here, and all the other properties are not able to show you springbok at all. And they're eating, they clearly like a food source here. There's lots of grasses, lots of forbs and herbs. So forbs and herbs generally sort of like little short small plants with a woody stem. That was what the springbok would eat. And they're also mixed feeders. So when you have winter season, they can focus on browsing on the leaves if that's what's available, and then in the summer season, like now with lots of the green grasses, they can focus a lot more on the grazing. It is this is a relatively mild road in comparison to how the center of the road gets overgrown with all the grasses at the moment, especially some of the sour grasses. All the seeds come up. We're going to send you across to somebody that's got something to show you.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala. So I'm sitting with quite a beautiful dazzle of zebras, and they seem to be in a bit of a playful mood. They're starting to make quite a bit of noise and actually starting to have a bit of a play fight every now and then as well. But I actually stopped here because we heard the lions. And so we're just watching these zebras, and there's actually also some wildebeest to see if there's any reaction from them. I think the lions are just a little bit further north from where I am based on where the sound was coming from. And they're looking in that direction. They are facing the direction that the calling was coming from, but they are looking quite relaxed. So there's actually also an implausibility of wildebeest around us as well. And there's quite a few calves here, which makes me think that if the lions were close, these wildebeest would have some form of reaction, because their main priority is always going to be to protect these little wildebeest calves. Babies are the main priority for any species. You can actually see those young ones are just starting to change color now. They're just starting to look a bit more like the adults. where previously they were that beautiful sandy brown. Now they're starting to go that silvery blue reflective colour, which is quite stunning. There's actually still one little calf there that's lying down that has still got a bit of the sandy brown colour. It's the smallest one on the left. Oh, there's quite a few oxpeckers around this morning. It's really starting to heat up here. Randall, no, I've never seen wildebeest and zebra fighting each other. They actually coexist quite peacefully because, yeah, the oxpeckers are fighting. Fighting over prime position on that wildebeest. But no, I haven't seen them fighting. They would coexist quite happily because they eat different parts or portions of the grass. They don't mind being together. They also serve as each other's alarm systems, if I can put it that way. They would help each other when they're alerting for predators. So, no, I've never seen a fight between zebras and wildebeest. I actually haven't seen many fights between different species, especially the herbivores. Although sometimes you might find elephants might get a bit grumpy with other herbivores. So I've seen them fighting with rhinos and with buffaloes. So here we have a little lapwing that is eating in amongst all of the zebras and wildebeest at the moment. And it's actually unusual to see it on its own. It's a crowned lapwing, but normally they're in pairs. So I don't know where the other one is. But you can see there's quite a lot of cloud building up at the moment. The sun has come out temporarily, and so it is heating up quite drastically at the moment. But when the clouds are actually covering the sun, it's actually quite cold, and there is quite a wind building up as well, which makes me think we definitely do have some rain coming a little bit later. Ah, there's the other lapwing. So they are together, just a distance apart. So they're actually fiercely territorial, and they're one of the animals that is really, really good at alerting to predators because they are so ferocious and vicious at protecting their eggs. Kevin, the largest dazzle I have seen was probably close to about 100 zebras together, and that was in one of my favorite sections of the Kruger National Park near Satara, which is one of the rest camps about halfway up the Kruger National Park. And there are some really massive dazzles there. One of my dreams in life is actually to go to the Serengeti and the Masai Mara, where you have those dazzles and these implausibilities of thousands of them together. But the biggest that I've seen was probably around 100. It's quite beautiful. Zebras are definitely one of my favorites because they look so different. And their dynamics are also quite interesting. I'm a scientist and I love studying animal behaviors and the different population dynamics, and it's something that's always fascinated me. You can actually see the stallion, which is the one right on the right-hand side, is very dirty. He must have been mud bathing this morning. He's got a lot of dirt on his side. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep going to try and find the Birmingham Pride, and I'm going to send you over to a very active big cat with Steve.
Well, thanks, Tessa. Thanks, Tessa. Good luck finding your lions this morning. We are having a lot of luck with Tundi now, because, I mean, not often you get her so stationary. Often she's moving, and that's how she was when we found her. Up and down she went, but everybody, I was going to delve into a medicinal plant segment this morning. I've got all my plant parts harvested already, and the plant I was going to do is actually this one right over here, Lance. If you just pan back a bit to, there we go, that one over there, little monkey-eared senna. So I will be focused. I've got everything harvested, so as soon as I'm able to, maybe this afternoon, we'll delve into it. So I harvested my plants on Monday. Bumped into animals on Monday. And now once again, we've bumped into more cats. So it is tranquil. It is wonderful to spend time with these big cats. And wonderful to be able to spend time with Thandi and Maribs unattended, just us here on Gowrie Main, which is almost unheard of. This is the thoroughfare between the north and sort of the east and western channels here. So many lodges and landowners have access to this. And here we sit, just myself, Sebastian and Lance, with 2 leopards. Aren't we blessed? I think we are. I think we're very, very blessed. Hashtag, I love my job. Hey Lance, do you see why we'd like doing what we do?
Yes.
Lana, cats have got what we call a digitigrade structure. So yes, they are on their toes. You have a look at their track. What we see, we always talk about the 4 toes, and then you see the back pad. That back pad is actually the sort of, if you look at your fingers now, everybody, if you all just take your left hand and put it in front of you, and then sort of angle your fingernails towards you, you'll see that your fingertips are facing towards you, and then the back pad is sort of that second area of the fingers where it sort of bends up. That is what the back pad is, and then the hand itself is elevated on the leopard. That's actually up on the wrist, and then your thumb is their dew claw, where the claw comes out of the side. So that is actually another finger over there. So the reason why they walk on their pads or on their toes is for silence. It gives them a little bit more of a reach when it comes to moving, so that they go and walk a little bit quicker, and they can have a little bit more acceleration because they're jumping off the toes. If you've ever looked at a track of us running, when we run, we actually run on our toes. We don't run on our foot. Hardly any of our foot touches the ground when we're at full sprint. And so cats, they accelerate off of their toes. It's like spring-loaded. There, if you look at a foot now, actually, you'll be able to see that there in the front is actually the toes on the ground, and then where it bends is actually the fingers of the hand, and there on the far back you can actually see the other foot. But on the inside is, and up a bit on what we call the wrist, is the dew claw. So quite a bit, and almost everything you're seeing in frame right now would be regarded as the hand of the leopard, which is very interesting. And it goes up, and the elbow is all the way up there, and then up into the shoulder. So there we go. You can actually see it quite nicely now. And you can see where the wrist. Okay. Now, we always talk about I'm tippy-toeing around. How do you tippy-toe around, everybody? You're on the tips of your toes, aren't you? So if we walk around on the tips of our toes, that is what cats are essentially doing in their track. And all that other pad on the back there is the rest of the hand. Obviously, the tips of their fingers are a little bit broader than ours, but the pad is there designed for silent movement. She's left her boy in the thickets behind us, and she's walking down the road. Where she's going to go in the heat is anybody's guess, but we will. Okay, she's going to come into Torchwood. Going to sit in the shade of that silver cluster leaf. She's definitely hungry, everybody. She obviously caught that impala, and her little boy ate it all, and now she just wants to eat some more. Okay, so we're going to have to try and follow her. Thankfully, though, we can, because this is Torchwood over here. Wild woman, it seems to change slightly, the coat. When they're young, they seem to be full of spots. And as they get older, those spots tend to get less spaced apart. Or should I say more spaced apart. You start getting a little bit more golden through. But there's also genetic sorts of variation in the different coats. A little bit of a dip over here. There's also genetic variation, depending on who dad was and who mum was. And it almost seems the older they get, the more washed out the coat gets. But she goes over here. This is going to be fun. Lance is going to love following Thandi off-road. Seb was saying to him just now, it's nice that they're sitting still like this, but as soon as she starts doing what Thandi does, I think she's maybe picked up on the sounds or smells of something. And just like that, once again, she's gone. Okay, well, I'm not going to follow her. I'm going to let her do her thing, and I'm going to stay with the boy, because if she does catch something, we'll hear it, and we'll be able to follow them back. But let's send you over to Deirdre over in Tswalu Kalahari, who's having a wonderful morning.
Oh, Thandi. She does tend to disappear every now and again, but we're glad you got to see her. Yeah, we're just about to go up and over one of our dunes. So, beautiful, nice grey camel thorn on the left-hand side here. Hold on to your seats. This is a relatively steep downhill. So, fortunately, sand is a very good brake. So, if we want to stop quickly, we just touch the brakes, and the sand definitely helps us stop relatively quickly. So we're just heading across. So all of our dunes tend to run sort of almost north-south, but they're slightly angled. And there's consecutively in a row, there's at least 9 of them. So we sort of go up and over a dune and then through the street and then up and over the next one. And as we go out further west, so in each one of these streets, the vegetation changes a little bit. So these first initial ones, predominantly this blackthorn on the right-hand side, and the sour grass. And then as we get further and further over, the soil type changes, and we land up with a lot more of the grey camel thorns out that side with the concrete waterholes. So DJ is asking the question, do we get pangolins? Yes, we do. They're very tricky to see and find. We're very lucky we've got some trackers here that are exceptionally good at tracking pangolin. At this time of the year, it is very, very difficult. The pangolin come out very, very late. They're coming out at about midnight to the early hours of the morning to go foraging. They're looking for ants and termites. And in the winter season, as the temperature shifts, then they start coming out a little bit earlier, and you might be there's a possibility that we could land up showing you some pangolin, but it is definitely a spot where they do occur. It took me in my career 16 years to see my first pangolin, and then another 2 years before I saw my second one, and my second one was here at Tswalu. My second and my third one, fortunately, 2 in one day. Really, really lucky, and I would never have seen it hadn't it been for the skills of the trackers. They'd found the tracks, and when I'm talking pangolin tracks, I'm talking little feet that are about that size. And that's literally what you're tracking. They only walk on their hind legs, so you're literally tracking 2 little feet, one behind the other, in a stripe, and you've got to see those tracks crossing this road and then be able to follow it through the bushes in order to find out which burrow it spent the night in. So we're just going to try, Morgan's going to try and zoom in there. There is a sable bull, a little bit far, but lying down this morning. A nice sable bull just also chewing, regurgitating, or ruminating, should I say. He's found a nice little patch of shade. And if nothing disturbs him, he'll probably spend the majority of the day there. That might get up to move around as the shade moves, but he looks quite comfortable there. And at this distance, because we're so far away, he's not bothered by our presence at all, but he definitely knows that we're here. he's chosen a really, really nice spot, but we're going to just show you the rest of the landscape. Kyla's asking how large is the sable population in Tswalu? I actually have no idea. Probably a couple of hundred. Or less than, well, maybe a couple of hundred is too many, but probably between sort of 100, 150, somewhere around there, I would say. But just look at that scenery, just look at those dunes in the background there. That's just amazing. Those mountains in the background, the far distance. So he really does have a nice spot. All the little the silver cluster leaves on top of the dunes there. You can see the classic red soil of the Kalahari with the mountains in the background. Well, I think we should carry on driving over the dune and see. There sounds like a good update from Steve. We're going to send you across to him.
Well, everybody, as always, the Queen of Djuma has decided to find herself onto a termite mound. So we followed her for a little bit because she went onto the fire break from where we were and walked down the road. We hoped maybe we'd get another glimpse of her, and so we did, and then lost her in the long grass, and then we saw this termite mound, and I thought to myself, let's go right there. And she has seen something. The reason why they go on these termite mounds is because of the height advantage it gives them. See, the intensity was there. She saw something for a moment. Now it's gone. But she's going to come down and continue her search. So they often get a bit of a view of something, and then they'll move into the general direction of whatever it is that they... Oh, she's going to walk in front of us, and it's going to be very hard to follow her here. She's going to go onto the log. And like that, everybody, lost again. There's a little open patch here we can probably drive through. It's along the power lines. We might be able to get another view of her, but if she is hunting, we don't want to influence her in any way, and very hard to see. We're on the crest here, which is good. Any lower down and off-road driving would be a no-go. On the crest above the Terminalia Sericea line. I don't know if you can still see her there, Lawrence. I can't. So her boy hasn't come. She left him back there. So if we don't get another view of her, we'll go back to him. Okay, so one more chance for her, and we'll head back over to Maribs, but let's go back over to Lauren and see how she's enjoying her day inside.
I'm still sitting at the dam. The hippos are still bobbing up and down, but the play it's subsided now. I can imagine it's a little bit hotter out there. I'm, of course, in FC, so I can't feel the temperature. But the play has definitely subsided, and they're spending a lot more time submerged now. Let's just take a look around the dam, see what else we can find. You can tell immediately just from this frame how windy it is. Not just from the trees, but look at the water. Daniels, hippos leave the dam, generally speaking, to forage, and that's normally at sunset time. So what people don't realise is they're actually nocturnal. Primarily nocturnal. They do all of their feeding, their foraging, their sort of activities at night time. During the day, it's just rest time. Although they're active and they're awake, they do all their defecating in the water during the day, it's generally just rest time. It's time to not waste any unnecessary energy, keep your body buoyed up in the water, either stay warm or stay cold before leaving. And leaving is normally when the sun starts to set at night time to forage. But you won't just find them climbing in and out of the water during the day. And that's because they are trying to save energy. For being such a big mammal and for only eating 1.5% of their body weight, they need to save their energy. No organism can afford to go into an energy deficit, can afford to sort of eat into that energy budget and run on a deficit. They almost always have to keep their energy levels up. And that's why, because they eat far less than the normal said mammal, there's a lot of resting involved. And the perfect way to do that is to stay in the water. Keep yourself buoyed up, and you don't actually need to worry about standing upright, moving too much, or swimming. They're not swimming. They are literally just keeping themselves buoyed up. You can control your buoyancy in many different ways, but I imagine the hippos here are just bouncing their feet up and down off the ground. We can gauge how deep this dam is because we've seen it. We've seen it running on empty. I didn't catch that name, but I don't believe there's crocodiles in this dam. We see crocodiles in Chitwa Dam regularly, where Steve is right now, and I believe crocodiles have even been seen in Bufosuk Dam. Not so long ago, there was a crocodile at Gowrie Dam, the dam we're looking at right now, but I don't believe there's one right now. Crocodiles can move on land. Of course, they require the water, but they do have very, very sharp claws which help give them traction on land, so they are able to pull that body weight and that heavy tail. So they can move from water body to water body, but I don't think there's any crocodiles in this water body right now. The population of crocodiles is not huge here, but we definitely do see them at Chitwa. Tanya, it's been a while since I've seen a chameleon. You do tend to find them in summer, quite a fair bit, but it's actually been a really long time since I've spotted a chameleon. Trishala will be back next week, and I am more than sure she will look for some chameleons for you. They're easier to find at night time. They sort of glow in the spotlight. They are diurnal though, and I guess they just blend very well into the vegetation, which makes them a little bit trickier to see during the day. I think it's been a few months since I've seen a chameleon. Yeah, they're not coming out of the water too much now. These hippos are staying very much underneath. Can you repeat that, Gwen? It's a question from Sarah. Lovely name. Happens to be my middle name. I think you're asking about Wally. Wally is very well. Thank you. he's getting a little bit more independent now. And, oh my goodness, he's just arrived in FC. Hello, Wally. Can you hear him, everybody? Wally, you're live right now. Yes, you are. I'm not sure if you can hear that, everyone, but that's Wally. And I think he lost his mum, or he got abandoned, or he got lost. We're not sure what happened. And he was obviously very young and very scared, and he ran to Derby, of all people. And he just appears to love to spend time with humans. Why? I'm not sure. He runs around. We don't keep him inside. He's free to do whatever he wishes. He's not a pet, to say, but he just loves to spend time with us. And that was Wally. So you've all heard him. He's now had his first live segment. I'm very proud of you, Wally. Okay, now I'm going to enjoy some cuddles with Wally here, and we're now going to send you across to Kim in Phinda.
Okay, welcome finally to andBeyond Phinda. We're joining you even later than we did yesterday evening. Today wasn't due to rain. It's been a beautiful, clear morning. It was actually due to just signal issues. We've been having issues with our signal since the cyclone that came through here. But we're very happy to be with you. We're very happy to be able to show you this big old buffalo bull. He isn't quite wallowing, but rather just standing in this wallow with two red-billed oxpeckers on his head. And he's just chilling. He's just chewing the cud that he's regurgitated into his mouth, which will just be lots of chewed up grass. Just chilling. I'm Kim. And we've got Simon behind camera. Yeah, and I do apologize that it's taken us so long. I think, what's it, like 10 minutes left of show, but I'm very glad that we got to join you very briefly. And I'm glad that we got to show you this buffalo. He's pretty cool. Hoping that he lies down or something. I feel like he might have just got here. And he might be planning to spend quite a bit of the day here as it starts to heat up. He might lie down and allow himself to keep cool in the water. Doesn't look like he's got too much mud on him, and usually buffalo bulls have quite a lot of mud on them. So he might be coming to replenish his mud layer. But Rick here's alone, because buffalo bulls generally are, well, the older ones. So buffalo bulls, they have kind of like these different levels of superiority in their herd. But when they get a bit older and they past the stage of reproducing, maybe some younger, more stronger bulls have come up and taken their place, they leave the herd and they go off by themselves. Big herds of buffalo have to travel quite far distances to feed, because obviously a big herd needs to eat quite a lot, and that means they have to move around so that they don't overgraze areas, or they probably will overgraze the area, and that's why they have to move on to the next area. A buffalo bull, after having served his purpose, he's now not going to be reproducing anymore. He's big and strong. He doesn't feel too vulnerable by himself without the herd, and he doesn't feel like he wants to be traveling around far distances to find food when he could just stay in. This buffalo bull has obviously decided that he's done his duty in the herd, and he's decided that he wants to go off alone. Sometimes you'll find a couple of old buffalo bulls together, like a little bachelor herd, a little group, but this guy obviously seems to just be by himself. In this area, though, and like I was just saying, they'll find like one area where they'll actually stay in because they don't have to move around too much. In this area, there is normally one or two others. It's often a group of three or just a pair. So the other could be somewhere nearby. We just can't see him for now. It's quite incredible how these wallows change the behavior of animals. We've got so many mud wallows and puddles at the moment, and we went past one of our watering holes that is usually just got so much action happening around it, with birds and animals coming to drink and just all sorts of exciting stuff. Even hippos. There weren't even any hippos in there. There were the hard go to the main watering holes to drink. They can just take little sips as they go along the roads and water and drainage lines. Very, very cool to see though.
So we just have so many of these sociable weavers' nests at Tswalu, but each one is sort of an architectural marvel on its own. Just look at this one. I mean, it's a tiny little boskia, a shepherd's tree, and the nest consumes almost half of the tree. So we haven't heard or seen any birds at the moment, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't out actively foraging at this point. So they'll leave the nest as a group and make lots of noise, and the group moves together to go and find either insects for the chicks, but they themselves as adult birds are actually eating grass seeds. So they'll be looking for both at the same time, and then if there are lots of chicks, they'll be bringing back little insects for them. But I'm not hearing anything at the nest, so it might well be that this nest is actually inactive. And yeah, they can choose to move on for whichever reason. Maybe they've exhausted a food supply in their area and they feel that they're building somewhere else. But it is there's no audio here, so they may well not be here at all. So we always stop and have a look at these nests, because sometimes you see a Cape Cobra tail hanging out, or the Cape Cobra's head is sticking out because it's been busy looking to find and see if there are any chicks to feed, and also worthwhile stopping at because there may be raptors or something that's trying to nest on the top of the nest. Haley is asking the question, why is it called a shepherd's tree? So from what I've read and what I understand is that this is one of the more prominent trees if you go all the way up from Tswalu north up into Namibia. It's one of the only big trees other than the camel thorns, and the herders would often be found sitting under these trees in the shade while their flock, whether it would be goats or mostly goats up where you go up towards Namibia, that they would be sitting underneath these trees. And the bark on the tree, or the actual stem of the tree, often has little holes in it that can potentially sometimes collect water, and that would be maybe sort of an emergency water supply for a shepherd. So that's my understanding of why they call it a shepherd's tree. It also does sort of stand and watch out over the Namibian desert, because it is one of the very few trees that occur in the really harsh sort of arid environment. Scientific name would be Boskia trunca, and LB meaning white and referring to the trunk.
It is fantastic seeing you all again. Those who haven't met me, my name is Dylan, in what is undoubtedly a very, very, very green Kalahari from what we were looking at a couple of months ago. We will be doing our very first fireside chat for WildEarth. So if you can join us on the 13th at about 7:30 after game drive, it would be an absolute pleasure. We'll see you there.
Sign up to become an explorer and join them by the fire straight after the sunset safari.
Our bodies are made up of about 60% water, which means that in a very short space of time, you can dehydrate completely. A relatively efficient way of collecting water early in the morning is to take an absorbent material like a sock and to walk through the grass, absorbing the condensed dewdrops on the grass. Once the material is saturated, you can then squeeze it out into a container, or you can suck it out directly into your mouth.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at WildEarth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
Okay, there's another big male coming in from our left here. Another big male, look at this. This is the one. Now you're going to see sparks fly, guys. Guys, it doesn't get better than this, eh? Yes! Unbelievable. Africa, I love you, eh?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
My favorite animal is a leopard, purely because I just think they are just the epitome of feline grace and power, and the way they can move about in any environment and remain hidden until they want to be seen, I just find it incredibly intoxicating, and they're amazingly beautiful.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Welcome back to andBeyond and Ngala, everybody. I am so excited. I was really hoping to see these white lions today, and as I came around the corner, here is the white male lying just next to the road, relaxing in the sun, chasing the flies with his paws and flicking his... And I've got the biggest smile on my face right now. I'm so excited. We haven't seen the white lions in quite a while. We know they've been slightly off of the property. And so to see them here, and especially this one, is just, it's completely made my month, not even my day. And he just looks so nice and relaxed. You can see his tail is actually stuck up on a piece of grass behind him. Oh, my word. I think when I actually spotted him, I did a full-on freak out. I think I slammed on the brakes so hard that poor Owen nearly fell off the vehicle. Oh my goodness, I think he's really enjoying that breeze. Look how the grass is moving around him. So it's actually really beautiful weather for him today. He's not hiding in the shade because we're going between overcast and then small patches of sun. So I think he's really just enjoying a nice cat nap out in the open in the beautiful long grass. He's actually looking a bit dirty. His face is looking but he's so nice and white. Oh my goodness, this has absolutely made my day. So I know a lot of our viewers have been asking about the white lions recently, so I'm really happy that I get to end the show with such an amazing sighting. I'm hoping everyone's as excited as I am. He's gotten even bigger since the last time I saw him. What a fantastic morning we've had after all of that searching and tracking and doing a loop back on ourselves. Here we find him, and I am so happy to share it with you. It's completely made my day. But thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been absolutely wonderful driving you around. And please join us again this afternoon. We'd love to have you on the show asking some questions. And hopefully we get to show you these lions again this afternoon. Have a wonderful day.